Well, here I am down at the Mackinac Bridge. I was just up this neck of the woods for my annual fishing trip, and my uncle has a cabin down in Toppin-a-Bee. It's about maybe 20 or 30 miles south of here. So before heading home, I thought I'd shoot up to the bridge and take a shot. The bridge is one of my favorite places. You know, it's just an iconic Michigan stop, so we're going to try and get some long exposures this morning on the bridge, and we'll see what we can come up with. The clouds aren't really doing anything spectacular, but at least we'll be able to smooth out the waves a little bit. So we'll see what happens. I moved down just a skosh and threw a polarizer in there, darken up the sky a little bit. We'll see if that was a good idea or not. But of course, with the polarizer and the 13 stops of filters, that puts me at 5 minutes 27 seconds or something like that. And I got a low battery indicator too, so I'm gonna try and squeak it out. If I can't, I've got a spare battery, I'll change it and do it. But once I got set up, I found I had the red battery and I didn't want to start over. So we'll see how that pans out. I anticipate having to change batteries halfway through the shot, but slightly different angle is all I've done, is come down the beach a little bit, see the bridge a little different angle. So it is cold though. My little fingers are struggling to work. It's only about, I don't know, 34 or 35 degrees this morning. Windy, of course, cold, squinting sun, all that stuff. But we'll just get a couple more pictures and call it quits. Head back home. Well, that was chilly. My little fingers just ain't working. But whew. I'm gonna just wrap it up. That seemed like a pretty good shot, that last one, 5-minute-er. And not much I can do. I'm not pressed for time per se, but also I don't have all day. So I'm just gonna take those couple shots, call it good, and we're gonna just make this short little video. Hopefully it's a decent picture when all is said and done, and we'll get these into the computer when we get home. And maybe I'll show you some of what I do there. Maybe not. So anyway, that's it for the Mackinac Bridge. We'll catch you back at home. All right, well, here we are back at the ranch. And we brought the file into Capture One, and this is what it looks like straight out of the camera. You can see it is just a skosh underexposed. Particularly when you consider I was trying to overexpose it a little bit. So I think once you start stacking the filters and you get up past 10, there's almost like reciprocity failure or something. So it needs I need to learn how much more I can overexpose it even past the warnings. But anyway, this is the file as it came, and what I ultimately did was created an underexposed version, and I think probably even just a middle exposed version, and I ultimately took those two into Photoshop, and this is the final result. So here we are now in Photoshop, and I think what I ultimately did here is, you can ignore possibly this bottom one. I combined the middle and the dark exposures and ended up with this level, this layer, I should say. Boy, the old cursor round thing doesn't agree with the screen recorder. Anyway, from there, I made a selection of just the water. Pretty simple selection. I bumped up the curve on that one, and I added to it, there you go, see that I bumped up that curve, and I added I think it's a reflective gradient. After that, I reselected the water again, pulled down the curve, and added another gradient to sort of darken it up along this neck of the woods, and leave my bright area here in the middle. It's at least the look I was going for. Next, I pulled some dodging and burning using Lumenzia up here. I use Lumenzia pretty heavily. I'm not good at it, I just use it a lot. So I did that, brightened up these pillars on the bridge and this line along here, things like that. Brightened up the sky, I should say the clouds, and then I probably darkened a little bit more of the blue in the sky. After that, looks like another curve I added on just the pillars here, or whatever they're called. A little bit of sharpening just on the bridge. Looks like I made a contrast adjustment to pull out the bridge again a little more. Then I added a few vignettes, brightening up the bridge area and darkening the rest of it. So that's sort of how I got there. Again, I am no expert at this, and in fact, a fair bit of the mechanical bits of how to make these selections and manipulate them, I get the idea from, I believe it's called iSGM, from Joel Tjintjelaar, if that's how you say it, and it's iterative selective gradient masks, and really the mechanics of how to pull that off I learned from Jay Cohen's YouTube page. Maybe I'll put a link below. I can't remember his page off the top of my head, like JC Images or something like that. So I'll put a link down below because he's got a number of really good explanations on how to pull this off. And so when I got all said and done with this, I was actually pretty happy with the way it turned out. I was going for a fine art look versus, say, a capture of realism, if you will. So the final image here is exactly what I was after. So I'm pretty chuffed with the way this one came out. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Again, I will find you an answer if I can, and I just am not necessarily an expert in any field. But I'm happy to share what I do know, and I appreciate you watching. Hopefully I'll have a new episode in the near future. Thanks again, and good luck.